Yes, them have the heart of a pagan. The children have the heart of a lion, I know. Evil a move with Satan. Righteous trod in the countenance of the Almighty One. Them have the heart of demons. The children have the heart of a lion, I know. Evil a move with Satan. Righteous walk in the countenance of the Almighty One. Good people see hostility rising daily.
Shalom. This is Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge in Atlanta, Georgia. The subject we're going to break down today is we're going to pull some scriptures proving the role of the so-called black woman, Hispanic, Native American woman in the nation of Israel. You understand? Like, the black woman is not God, you know what I mean? She's not the Most High. She's not the queen of the universe, anything like that. But she does play an important role in the nation of Israel. You know what I'm saying? Just like any, brothers and things like that. You know what I mean? But we're going to prove that there is a ranking, you know what I mean, to this nation. You know what I mean? You got the Most High, you got Christ, you got the brothers, and then you got women, they wives and women that come after and children and things like that. That's how a nation is strong. You know what I mean? That's how you breed a nation. You know what I mean? Any questions you have on classes, we have classes in Atlanta at the Central Branch Library on Saturdays from 3 to 5. If you have questions on classes or previous subjects, class schedules, call 404-997-9123. The first scripture we're going to pull is in Genesis. Okay, this is from the beginning. This is talking about Eve. You know what I mean? Like, if you know anything about Eve, she was deceived by the serpent. By the serpent, I mean the so-called white man, or the spirit of the so-called white man. You know what I mean? This is the first time in history that a so-called black woman was seduced by a so-called white man. You understand? Basically, that's what Genesis, this third chapter is talking about. You know what I mean? So we're going to Genesis 3 verse 16. It says, "Unto the woman he said, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow and thy conception. In sorrow thou shalt bring forth children, and thy desire shall be to thy husband, and he shall rule over thee." You understand? So basically what this saying is, because the so-called woman, okay, like Adam and Eve was basically, I'm going to break it down. Adam and Eve were basically giving a way to live from the Most High, inheritance, a culture to follow, laws to follow. You know what I mean? Not saying they were the first two people on earth, but they were the first two people to get the culture of the Most High and laws to follow. But because they did not want to follow the law, and moreover because Eve was deceived by the serpent, and she wanted to go off into other doctrines and wanted to go off to other nations and see what other people were doing, and she wanted to get deceived by the by the serpent, the Most High cursed her. And it says, in sorrow shall bring forth children. When it says that, it's mean like when a woman is in her pregnancy, when she's giving birth, there's a lot of pain, there's a lot of, you know what I mean, it's horrible, you know what I mean, like, but it didn't have to be like that. You know what I mean, she could have gave birth just like everything, you know what I mean, like, you don't see dogs or, cats or anything else, like, crying and moaning and sorrowing over giving birth. You know what I mean, but the so-called, the woman, the so-called black woman, like, she gives birth in sorrow, you know what I mean, like, that was given to her by the Most High for not following His laws, basically. Okay? And then when it says, the most important part, when it says, and thy desire shall be to thy husband, and he shall rule over thee. When it says thy desire shall be to thy husband, that's talking about, like, a woman, and if you talk to a woman, like, a woman loves to please her husband. You know what I mean? Like, they get joy off of pleasing their husband, and it's supposed to be like that. You know what I mean? Like, a woman is supposed to want to do for her husband, like, her desire, like, what she likes, what she cooks, what she dresses like is to please her husband. Like, when she puts on certain things, it's to please her husband. When she cooks something, it's to please her husband. What she listens to is to please her husband. You know what I mean? And it says, and the man shall rule over her, meaning she's not in charge of the situation, but the man is, because the man wasn't deceived. Adam wasn't deceived, okay, but he followed her, which was wrong, and that's in the scriptures as well, but he was not deceived. The serpent didn't go to him and deceive him. I mean, he followed his woman. And that's a precept, like that's a side note for brothers. Like you should not be under your woman. Your woman should not be guiding you and telling you what you should do. And that's why in the scriptures, in this same verse, it says, the man shall rule over thee. The Most High knew what he was doing. The Most High wants a man to rule over his woman. You know what I mean? That way, she's under control, right? If she has questions, she can come to him. If she's unsure of something, she can come to him. And a man will not be following his woman because, you know, she's naive. Naive meaning close. Eve meaning Eve who was deceived by the serpent. So naive meaning close to Eve. I mean, easily tricked, easily deceived. A man is not supposed to be like that. A man is supposed to rule over his household, rule over his women. Slakia, or yeah, women. You know what I mean? Because you can have more than one wife. You know what I mean? Let's go to 1 Corinthians. Let's go to 1 Corinthians chapter 14, verse 34. This is the order, you know what I mean? Like, there has to be an order in everything we do. You know what I mean? Even in the school, if you have a brother, you have officers, captains, and generals, troopers. I mean, any brother that you see in the school, nobody is equal to each other. It's like saying, if I'm talking to another brother, like, either he's over me or I'm over him. Any brother that you see, someone's under and someone's above, because that keeps order, that keeps responsibility, that keeps the decency in the school. Okay, so in 1 Corinthians chapter 14 verse 34 it says, let your women keep silence in the churches, for it's not permitted unto them to speak, but they are commanded to be under obedience, as also saith the law. Now these are things that the so-called black woman does not like to hear. When it says things like they are commanded, right? A black woman, so-called Hispanic or Native American woman, does not like to hear the word commanded. You know what I mean? That's too strong. You know what I mean? But the scripture said they are commanded. They have to do this. It's not a suggestion. You know what I mean? It's not if you want to. They are commanded to be under obedience. Obedience means to be under the, you know what I mean, under subjection to a man. You understand? It says under obedience, also saith the law. Like the law says, a woman is commanded to be under obedience. I mean, they're supposed to humble themselves under the law or under a man. I'm saying we're gonna pull more on it. Verse 35. It says, and if they will learn anything, let them ask their husbands at home, for it is a shame for women to speak in the church. Now, what does this mean? When it says it is a shame for a woman to speak in the church, it does not mean a woman cannot ask a question. If you know anything about the I.S.U.P.K, if you ever went to even one class, anybody can ask a question. You know what I mean? A sister could raise her hand, and when called upon, she can ask her question. We'll answer the question accordingly. You know what I mean? So, it doesn't mean a woman cannot ask a question, but it says when a woman is to keep silent in the church, she cannot have an authority position in the church, within the congregation. You know what I mean? She cannot be a pastor. There's no woman who could be in charge of the nation or of men. She cannot be telling men what they're supposed to do to be serving the Lord. Like she cannot teach the Bible, basically. Basically, she cannot teach the Bible. But what she could do, she could ask her husband if she has a question, and she could open up a school and she can teach geometry or math or the language. She could, like Hebrew, whatever it is. Like she can't teach, you know what I mean, the words of the Most High. And she cannot have authority over the congregation. That's what it basically is saying. But of course, you can ask a question. You got some people who take this scripture and say a woman cannot talk at all. You know what I mean? You get that brainwashing from other religions. You get that from Islam and you know what I mean, things like that. And a woman can't do anything, can't read books and things like that. But of course, a woman cannot have authority over men. But she could ask a question. Of course, she could teach certain subjects. But she cannot teach the word of the Most High. Right? Okay, let's go to 1 Timothy. Let's go to 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 1. It says, likewise, ye wives, be in subjection to your own husbands, that if any obey not the word, they also, without the word, be won by the conversation of the wives. So basically we're saying if you got a sister who's coming to the truth and maybe her husband's not into the truth, You know what I mean? He ain't coming to the school. He's not learning. But a woman still at that point cannot control her man. She cannot be on above her man, or be on top. She has to win her man over by her conversation. And what she'll learn is that a woman is to serve her man. So what she'll do is she'll cook for the brother. She'll speak nice words, and she'll, she won't be going out all time, like types of hours, at night. She won't be going to the club. She won't be gossiping. She won't be doing all types of nonsense that the average woman does in the world. And her man will be won by that conversation. He'll be like, he'll wonder what she's into, like what got her so right. Like what did she read, or what did she get into that has her acting this way? And that could bring a brother into the truth. Like if a sister she should not come into the truth telling a man like, you should be in the truth, you should do this, you ain't supposed to eat this, you ain't supposed to do that. If you want a man not to eat pork, don't cook it, right? So if you don't want your man to eat pork, if you want him to follow the laws, make a great steak. Make some mashed potatoes and whatever you got to do, some broccoli, and bring it to him. He gonna eat it regardless. You know what I mean? If a man's supposed to follow the laws and you come into the truth and he's not really getting with it, like a woman could be a great, she could be a great thing into the truth. She could be a great thing into the school. Because what she could do now, she'll cook the food that he's supposed to eat instead of yelling and trying to be over him and telling him what he's doing wrong. You know what I mean? And that brings brothers into the truth. That's for sisters, right? Verse 2. While they behold your chaste conversation coupled with fear. That's another good point. When you talk to your husband, just like children, when a child talks to her, it's like when a child talks to their parents, you're not supposed to be on some homegirl, homeboy level, friend level. Like there's supposed to be a fear there. You're supposed to know you talking to your parents. Let me address them accordingly. Like a woman is not supposed to be talking to her husband like he's just some guy from around the way. You know what I mean? Like when you talk to your husband, your conversation has fear in it, meaning respect. Meaning you don't just be saying anything that comes to your mind. You know what I mean? Like you think about it and you say it to him, and your conversation is right. You know what I mean? Like he has comfort. Like he talks to you in a way that's like not just some person from anywhere. You know what I mean? Like your conversation is supposed to have a fear in it, understanding his authority in the household. All right. Let's see. What else can we get on that? Okay, that's basically on 1 Peter. That's basically it. Let's go to 1 Timothy. Okay. First Timothy chapter 2, verse 11, it says, let the woman learn in silence with all subjection. That basically is a precept going back to 1 Corinthians. Let a woman learn in silence, meaning she cannot teach in the class, she cannot teach in the school. She's supposed to listen and follow what's being taught, you know what I mean? And if she has a question, she can ask her husband or she can ask the teacher and she can get an answer, you know what I mean? But she cannot assert her authority over a man, you know what I mean? So there's not supposed to be any woman teachers or any, woman pastors or anything like that. Even in your so-called conscious Black Panthers and this and that and Black Power movements, you had women who were above men, women who was going out on the pulpit teaching and doing all types of nonsense. And it's not supposed to work like that. You understand? Like the Lord does not respect that. He does not want the nation to run by women being in charge. You know what I'm saying? You understand what happens when women are in charge. You can look at the ghetto today. That's what happens when women are in charge. All the shooting, all the killing, all the gang banging, the drug dealing. Like we already know, the black man is not in the house. So where are they getting this from? Where are they getting this irrational? Like the ghetto is irrational. The hood is irrational. That's why you shooting niggas for slacky. You shooting black men for nothing. You know what I mean? You killing and we doing it for nothing. Like we emotional. We not thinking things through. You know what I mean? That's what's happening when black women and children are in charge. I understand. So basically, that's what I want to bring out. Remember, if you have any questions, call 404-997-9123. Remember to pay your tithes at I.S.U.P.K, 10%, whatever the Lord gives you. With that, I'm going to say shalom.
Yes, them have the heart of a pagan. The children have the heart of a lion, I know. Even Evil a move with Satan. Righteous trod in the countenance of the Almighty One. Them have the heart of demons. The children have the heart of a lion, I know. Evil a move with Satan. Righteous walk in the countenance of the Almighty One. Poor people see hostility rising daily. Ignorant multiply brutality. I see daddy run gone left mommy. Fi struggle the hard road with fight beginning. Our I see baby having baby. Nothing that